So how can you avoid lower search rankings from duplicate content? And is it ever worth it? Find out inside the video. Hey, it's Gia from Brand24, and today I want to talk about content duplication. So for those of you who aren't familiar, content duplication is when you have several versions of the same piece of content floating around the internet. This makes it hard for search engines like Google to determine which version is the most relevant version that it should be actually showing viewers. So there are a few common causes of duplicate content, such as when you've made big changes to your site, like moving from HTTP to HTTPS, leaving the older versions behind, or even session IDs and different URL parameters can also create content duplication. And it can definitely occur when you repurpose your content by republishing or syndicating articles on external platforms like Medium, LinkedIn, or Quora, for instance. Now, content duplication itself is fairly common. It's estimated that up to 29% of the internet is duplicate content. Now, content scraping aside, many instances of this is completely self-inflicted, especially when you republish content across external platforms. So even though this is a great way to boost referral traffic, unless you watch out for content duplication, you can end up hurting your own search rankings. Well, this week we have a few tips to help you avoid content duplication when you go to republish and syndicate content on external platforms. So first of all, if you've just hit the publish button on your own website, don't rush to republish your content elsewhere. Just give it a few days. Google needs a little time to index the original post on your own site first, and if you rush to publish it somewhere else, just after sharing it, this makes it difficult for Google to index and attribute it correctly. And secondly, before you republish your content on an external website, even if you've patiently waited a couple weeks before doing so, keep in mind that most likely domain authority will affect your search rankings. It's safe to say that Medium, LinkedIn, and any other well-known platforms that let you republish content on their sites, they all have more domain authority than your own website. So if you republish content on those platforms, there's a really good chance that that syndicated content on another site will rank higher on Google than the original version on your own site, which isn't necessarily so bad. There are pros and cons to this. So the biggest pro is that because these external sites are so well known with much greater readership than your own website, you could potentially reach a much wider audience and give your referral traffic a big boost, as well as increase your brand awareness. The biggest potential con is that this could bump your own search rankings for that content from page 1, which gets 92% of all clicks from search inquiries. So the referral traffic that you get from republishing on an external site could make up for this loss, but it really just depends on what you're trying to achieve. So one method that people often use to consolidate signals for duplicate content is the canonical tag, which is a piece of code that you can include on a page to inform Google which version should be credited for the content found there. This is a lot easier to implement with internal duplicate content for obvious reasons, but definitely worth looking into on other sites. For example, Medium will automatically apply the canonical tag to content that you republish on their platform, but only if you import your post, not if you copy and paste it as a new story. So when you import your content this way, Medium automatically includes a link to your website indicating that this is where the content was originally published and where it should be attributed. So if you're trying to boost referral traffic by sharing content on other sites that don't apply canonical tags, there are a couple things you can do to minimize your chances of duplicate content. For starters, don't republish the entire article. Otherwise, you will end up with duplicate content and lower search rankings for sure. And if you're really short in time, just take the first couple of paragraphs and then cap it with a link back to your original post with anchor text like "keep reading." If it's an option, however, I highly recommend quickly summarizing your article in 1 or 2 paragraphs and then closing that with the "keep reading" link. The less similarities that your repurposed content shares with the original version, the better. And another thing that you can do to mitigate content duplication is by altering the title of your content when you republish. This can potentially help you rank for a different keyword too. And always try to customize your content to the platform. So if you're republishing something on LinkedIn, it's a good idea to incorporate any statistics from your post in the first paragraph. And if you're repurposing something for Quora, it's a good idea to open with an interesting anecdote. So despite the risk of content duplication, republishing and syndicating your content on external platforms is still a really good way to boost referral traffic. Just make sure you give readers plenty of opportunities to find their way back to your domain by adding a good amount of links to other parts of your site inside your republished content. Just make it easy for them to find you. Anyway, that is it for this week. If you have any questions or something to add, just let me know in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where I will be explaining how to do even more in social media and digital marketing each week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I will see you next time. Bye!